Question that seems to be popular nowadays is questions about truth. Is there actually absolute truth in this world? In fact, we live in an age of pervasive relativism where what's right for me is not right for you, and there are no absolute norms. Here's the problem with a relativistic worldview. It just doesn't work. It's inconsistent even with itself. In fact, the statement, "there is no truth," is a propositional statement of truth. And so you can't even make the statement, "there is no truth," without acknowledging that there are absolute truths. In fact, some would say, well, I'm not going to go so far and be so proud as to say there is no truth. I'll just say, I don't know. You might call this an agnostic view of truth. But the problem with that is to say, I don't know if there is truth, is even in and of itself a proclamation or a declaration of truth. And so there's no way to get around it. There are norms, there are truths in this world that are absolute and universal. And of course, from a biblical perspective, we know that this is true because there is one creator of the world, and that is the God of the Bible. And He's a God of truth. In fact, Jesus Himself said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And so we know that not only are there truths, but we know that those truths come to us from God, who is a God of truth. And really, a denial of truth is simply a denial of God. To deny absolute truths in this world, it's not so much a philosophical movement as it is a moral movement. It's a way of avoiding submission to God's truth. Because if we recognize that there are truths, then there are truths that we have to submit to. And that's really what's going on. Romans chapter 1 tells us that very thing. It says, "For what can be known about God is plain to them because God has shown it to them." So there are truths in this world that are plain. There are truths in this world that are self-evident. And that's because God has designed it that way. However, in these sinful inclinations of our hearts, we don't want to admit those truths. That's why it says in that same chapter, "The wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth." That's really what's going on. We want to suppress the reality of truth because we would rather pursue our own lust and our own unrighteousness rather than having to submit to God's law and follow after God's holiness. And so there are truths. There are truths that we must submit to, and those truths are found to us principally in the Word of God.